Hey everybody, how are you doing? Tekking and Barry back again. And before we get into today's video, we have a very special sponsorship. I don't know why I said that like Dracula, but sponsorship! This time with Razer Gold. That's a pretty cool name. What is Razer Gold? Well, it's a digital wallet service, so you can take your money, put it in this digital wallet, and you can use it to purchase video games online, as well as in-game purchases like DLCs and the like. Now, why would you use Razer Gold apart from all the other digital wallet services that exist? Well, because every time you do, you get yourself Razer Silver, which are reward points that you can then use to purchase Razer hardware. Although I don't think any actual Razers are involved in any part of this process, but it sounds really cool. Razer hardware is stuff like gift cards, as well as premium subscriptions to Crunchyroll to watch all your favorite anime, like One Piece, for example. In fact, right now, there's actually a contest going on where you can enter to win 1 month free subscription to Crunchyroll Premium. So click on the link in the description to enter the contest, check out Razer Gold. Thanks for the sponsorship. Now let's get to the video. Okay, alright, well, I think we all know what we have to talk about today, alright? Spoilers, spoilers, spoilers all over the place for One Piece Chapter 1026. I mean, it was absurd, right? Kaido in his dragon form, Luffy returning using Conqueror's Haki, the epic clash that splits the heavens themselves. Obviously, we need to talk about Jack and Perospero's respective fights. Those were really the MVPs of the chapter. Yeah, Luffy and Kaido maybe being on an even keel and, causing the heavens to quake amidst their awesome power. Yeah, we'll get to that maybe tomorrow, maybe some point this week. I don't know, whenever I get time for it. Jack and Perospero, though, their battles cannot go just, forgotten about in the annals of One Piece history. We at least gotta dedicate one video to them to make sure they get the respect they deserve. Well, maybe Jack. Perospero's sort of like, but Jack. Actually, you know what? In the chapter review, I talked about Perospero and how, I really don't like Perospero, okay? I think he's kind of an annoying character, really, and I'm just sitting there and I'm wondering, man, it really takes so many characters to bring this guy down, right? Like, Carrot and Wanda fought against him. There was that one scene where Sanji knocked Queen around and Queen, smacked Perospero into a wall. It seems like every time he gets knocked back, he just gets back up like it's not a big deal and he proceeds to continue the fight. Then Nekomamushi shows up in his Sulong, you think that should be the end of the battle right there, but no, then the Sulong fails and it's like, man, how tough is this guy? How hard is Perospero to bring down? And a lot of people actually brought up some pretty good points, because one of my points was like, Perospero's 50 years old. Come on, guys. What character in One Piece is 50 years old that can put up a serious fight? Other than literally every single one of the admirals. And Rayleigh, and Kaido for that. Kaido is 59, I don't know. But we'll get to Perospero. Let's talk about Jack first, okay? Because I feel like Jack, Perospero at least was like a main character in Totland, right? Like, he was very prevalent in Totland. He showed up quite a bit. What has Jack got? Like, he showed up at Zoe in a flashback when the Straw Hats were not even there. And then when the Straw Hats were there, he doesn't even get a chance to meet any of them. Jack just sails up to Zunisha, and Zunisha just, crushes him with its giant trunk, and then boom, end of story. Have any of the Straw Hats actually even fought Jack or even encountered him? I guess, sort of. I guess the Straw Hats were kind of in Okabore Town when Jack showed up, but it's not like Luffy directly fought him or anything like that. It's not like any of the Straw Hats really went up to Jack. So, yeah, Jack was like, yeah, when's my time to fight against the Straw Hats, everybody? Everybody gets a story arc. Crocodile got to fight the Straw Hats, Rob Lucci, Eneru, Moria. I can't wait to join those ranks. Just like, sorry, Jack, I'm sorry, buddy. Some people just have shit luck. I don't know what to tell you, okay? You feel bad for him a little bit. He's like the little brother of the All-Stars. Like, he is an All-Star, but at the same time, Queen and King sort of lord over him, and so they're obviously stronger than him and everything like that. You also get the impression that Jack was maybe picked up as a little kid by Kaido, and so, he was sort of raised by King and Queen as sort of like these really brutal sort of older brothers, and we see that in the scene at the beginning King of Wano, where he gets kind of chewed out by Queen and King in their first appearance, right? So he's sitting there and he's just like, I'm sorry, big brother Queen. I'm sorry, big brother King. I'll try to do better next time. And she's like, you stupid idiot, Jack. I know you try the best you can, but God, you suck. Jack the drag down, right? And so Jack's like, yes, big brother Queen, I'm sorry. I'll do better. And he just gets up and just mopes out of the room. Like, you feel bad for him a little bit. He just wants to prove himself. Honestly, that is what he wants to do, because he's an all-star, but he's like the youngest one, right? And it's just like he knows that if any of the all-star positions were going to get taken away, like if one of the Tobiropo was going to be promoted, Jack would probably be the one that gets knocked out, and then like Who's Who or Sasaki maybe gets promoted, right? I feel like his ambition sort of clouds his judgment at times, right? Like, he just rushes into things with the impression of, like, I'm gonna prove myself. I'm gonna show everybody, I'm gonna show Kaido and Queen and King how strong I am, and I'm gonna devastate everything, and then I'm gonna get that respect that I deserve. You know, even though I'm an all-star, I feel like I'm not respected enough, okay? So, like, when the Scabbards go to fight against Kaido, what does Jack do? Jack is actually the first person that, like, rounds up a bunch of his followers, like gifters and headliners, and one of the numbers, and he's like, okay, everybody, Master Kaido's going on the roof to fight those samurai, so we're gonna back him up. You know, not Queen, not King, not any of the Tobiropo. No, Jack is the one that takes initiative there, and he's like, we're gonna go be the support unit for Master Kaido in case he runs into any problems, okay? So that shows initiative right there, and that shows that he's like the willingness to fight, okay? So he shows up to the roof, and it's honestly a good thing that he did, because I'm not saying that like the Scabbards plus all of the minks that gathered on the roof would be able to take down Kaido, even if that fight would have continued without Jack getting involved, like all of the minks from Zou going into the Sulongs, plus Inu and Neko, plus all of the Scabbards all just jumping on Kaido and just raining blows on him. From what we've seen with Kaido and how, you know, strong he is and all the techniques he's got, like I think one giant dragon twister probably would have been enough to knock out a big chunk of those minks there. So yeah, don't feel too bad. That's like, oh man, those minks didn't get a chance to fight against Kaido. Jack had to show up and just have a little pre-battle before we got to that. I don't think it would have made that much of a difference. I mean, Kaido might be a little bit more injured, but from all the crazy stuff we saw, yeah, don't think too highly of that one setup, okay? But yeah, Jack shows up with one of the numbers, Nangi, and then, you know, with all the gifters, and they fight against the minks, and eventually Neko and Inu, they fight against Jack briefly, and Jack gets beat down. He gets beaten down, and it's just like, all right, well, I guess I'm gonna retreat. And so they bring him back into the hall, and he's like, he heals up a little bit, and he's like, all right, well, that didn't work out as planned. I need to redeem myself. Okay, that didn't work. Now I need to fight some other people, right? And so Jack starts stomping around the area, and he runs into Inuarashi. And he has that little back and forth that I really liked. I thought it was pretty funny, where Jack is like, well, there's no moon in here, you stupid dog, so now you can't go into your Sulong Super Saiyan 3 transformation. And then Inuarashi's like, oh man, it's so funny. I was just thinking, I don't see any poison gas around here to use on me either. And so Jack's like, ooh. And so there's a grudge there, of course. And it of course had to have at least been Inuarashi or Neko that fought and defeated Jack. I mean, that's just a score that had to be settled. So their fight begins, and I really hope we get to see more of it in the anime, because we really just kind of cut back and forth between it. We didn't really get to focus on it all that much. Like the Tobiropo fights obviously had precedence while all that was going on, but for the most part, we just cut back. It's like, oh, Inu and Jack are struggling a little bit, but then there was the scene where they get knocked into the garden, and then like the crack in the ceiling has the moonlight, and then Inu goes into his Sulong, and it's sort of like, okay, second wind, here we go, and then Inu has the upper hand, and then in the last chapter, the moon dissipates behind the cloud cover, and Jack's about to finish him off, and then it comes back, and then Inu's finally able to finish him off with Canine Cleaver, the ultimate dog-themed attack in all of anime! The second one, of course, being Red Dog, which is the technique, or no, I think it was, wait, wasn't it just called Red Dog? The technique that Aka Inu used with the magma that was in the shape of a dog? I know his title is Aka Inu Red Dog, but I think he literally just had an attack name named after it as well. Whatever, dog's in the name, pretty cool attack. So he takes his peg leg, his sword leg, and just stabs it, just runs it right through Jack, and he goes down. And we know Jack is down because of the narrator coming out and saying, like, hey, Jack the Drought, one of the All-Stars, down and out of the fight, defeated. The narrator said it. it's confirmed. That's basically, like, the narrator in One Piece is essentially Oda. So, like, it's like God parts the clouds, and he's like, yep, Jack's defeated, whatever. And then Orochi's in the background like, oh no, Jack was defeated, now what do I do? Jack was my only hope for getting out of here. Actually, that makes me think, like, was he watching the fight just hoping for Inuarashi to die? And then Orochi emerges and he's like, Jack, you must protect me! And then we start a spin-off series focusing on Jack and Orochi traveling the Seven Seas together so they can finally get, the spotlight they deserve after all of these years, right? I don't know. I mean, like, at first, you know, considering all the stuff that happened at Zoe when he just sailed right next to this giant elephant that's like the size of a mountain on top of another mountain, and he's like, yeah, we'll just blast its legs out, right? And he just gets wrecked. It's like, you know, couldn't you have kind of seen that coming? You were sort of like lining up the shot for that. And then there was the time that Jack attacked a marine convoy carrying Doflamingo to Impel Down. And a lot of people, me included at the time, was like, man, Jack is such an idiot. Right? Like, did he not know who was on that boat? Did he not know that Doflamingo's escort was Sengoku, the former fleet admiral, plus Osuru, the great tactician, plus Fujitora, a current admiral? Did he not know that when he attacked? And then I start thinking, like, shit, did he know? He might not have heard the whole story, and it's like, oh man, well, you know, Doflamingo, he's the one that provides the smiles for Master Kaido. Once again, that's Jack showing initiative. Like, I have to do my job. My job is the will of Kaido. Obviously, Kaido would not want Doflamingo to be thrown and impaled down, so I have to go rescue his dumb ass, right? And so he goes, and so maybe he did not hear the report, or even if he did, maybe he cares less about his own well-being and more about pleasing Kaido. Maybe that's a better way of looking at it, instead of just him thinking like, oh, I'm Jack, well, Sengoku, Fujitora, and Osuru, plus a bunch of really strong Marines are in this convoy, but whatever, I'm awesome, I could take them. I could take the former fleet admiral that's also a Buddha, no problem. I don't think of it like that. I guess it's more of like, I need to do this. I need to save Doflamingo for Master Kaido's sake, and if I die trying, at least, you know, I go out the way I want, in like the honorable way, carrying out the will of Kaido, right? So maybe that's the way he was looking at it. It's like he's doing his job. I didn't see Queen trying to go after Doflamingo. I didn't see King flying in as a Pteranodon and trying to grab him. No, it was Jack that showed the initiative. We're doing a total 180 here on Jack. It's like, man, he's an idiot. It's like, no, he's not. He was a brave warrior, you know? But I think, once again, it just clouded his judgment. Like, he kind of bit off more than he can chew there. He certainly did. Fujitora and Suru and maybe Sengoku as well kind of wrecked his day up, you know? So, after that he got, and then Zunisha, and then he was underwater for a while and he had to be rescued. And that's probably why Queen and King treat him the way that they do, because it's like Jack keeps trying to do these bigger and bigger things to please Kaido. He keeps failing every time, and so that's the reason he's chewed out. But in reality, Jack would probably be like, you guys don't do anything, Queen and King, you just guys sit around in Wano all the time, tinkering with your robots, and I don't know what King does, I don't want to know, but like, King's like, no, you don't. I was like, okay, great, but like, I'm the one out there actually doing shit. I'm the one that actually went to a giant elephant to find Raizo. I'm the one that went up against the damn fleet admiral in order to get Doflamingo back. I deserve a little bit of respect in this organization, right? And he just doesn't get it, and he certainly is not going to get it after this battle. The best that Jack could really hope for at this point is if, like, I don't know, if Queen and King end up dying and he's the only one left. Actually, that would be really funny if, like, Jack is the only one, right? Like, he wakes up after, like, getting knocked out by Inuarashi, and he's just like, everything's, like, the battle's been over for days at this point. Like, he was knocked into a coma or whatever, and he just gets up and he moves the rubble, and he's like, anybody here? Queen? Big Brother King? Kaido? It's like the scene in Home Alone. Just picture Home Alone, except instead of Macaulay Culkin, it's Jack. Just walking through the hallways of Onigashima. It's all wrecked. Half of it's burned down. And he's like, anybody here? Does that mean I get Onigashima to myself now? All right, then he turns up the music. He's just like, yeah, we're dancing tonight. This is Jack's house. You know? So that's the best Jack could hope for. Pretty much that's his happy ending. Yep. That's Jack. But anyway, let's move on to a character that I like a little bit less, Perospero. Let's talk about him. Oh boy. All right. I'm going to need a drink for this. Yeah, it's good water. Okay. Charlotte Perospero, the eldest son of Charlotte Linlin Big Mom, the user of the candy fruit. Actually, it's not the candy fruit because that was used by Gasparde in one of the movies. I believe it's the lick fruit that he actually has, which is way more disturbing. Anyway, yeah, he ended up at Onigashima after all the other members of the Charlotte family fell off the waterfall for the second time, but he made it there. And you know what? It really does seem to me that, like, Oda sets up certain things for Perospero, but then, like, you know, cuts away to other things. Like remember back when Perospero and Marco were gonna do an alliance? And, like, literally, the alliance was proposed, and then immediately it fell through in the same chapter. And so I'm like, oh, okay, well, Perospero and Marco work together to take down Kaido because, you know, Perospero does not want Big Mom and Kaido to have the alliance. Like, oh, that could be an interesting little dynamic, but that's immediately, you know, knocked out, so that's not going to happen. And so Perospero's like, oh, okay, I guess we're just, you know, enemies then, whatever. Okay, next time I see you, it will be on the battlefield, right? And then we see him in the hallway, like, and you know what? I can't say that he's a coward or anything. He's just doing the smart thing. Like, he's, like, hanging out on the perimeter of the battlefield with a bunch of, like, candy arrows and candy bows, and he's just, like, firing shots like he's sniping from above. Like, you know, that's like a smart thing to do. Like, if you were playing a first-person shooter or something and it's Onigashima, it's like, all right, I'm not going to go into this massive melee with dinosaurs and you know, ice onis on the festival stage. No, I'm going to perch myself up on that giant, like, pillar, like, you know, 3 floors up, and I'm going to hide behind that, and I'm just going to, like, use the arrow and, like, snipe from above. Like, that is a smart thing to do, what Perospero is doing. He's just, you know, I find him kind of annoying, you know? It's not even just because of the Pedro thing, which honestly, yeah, let's talk about that, was really not Perospero's fault. Although I like how Oda has turned that into a running gag at this point, where it's like Carrot's like, I will fight you to avenge Pedro, slash, and then Perospero's like, what? I'm not the one that killed him. He blew himself up. How was I part of that, right? It's just like, because he took his life so that you would die and you're still breathing, so that's an insult to his memory. I'm just like, that's not my problem, right? So that is pretty fair, and they just keep bringing it up. Like, Nekamamushi says the same thing. It's like, I will avenge Pedro, and Perospero's like, you know what? I don't even care anymore. Fine, I'm responsible for Pedro's death. I'm responsible for everybody's death. I'm responsible for Ace's death, too. Whatever. Just throw it all on Perospero, okay? And, you know, I really wanted Carrot and Wanda's fight to be, you know, more, like, focused on, but that's okay, really, because that's what the anime's for. Same thing with Jack. I mean, the anime sort of exists to expand on these fight scenes, so we'll definitely get more of that. And yes, they ultimately failed. And the thing that I brought up in the review was I feel like Perospero really shouldn't be that tough. Like, he shouldn't have, like, that much high defenses or endurance or whatever. I feel like after the Sulong fight between Carrot and Wanda, where they did get hits out on him, it's just the moon went away and then their Sulong failed, but they did do some damage to him, plus all the damage he accrued during the festival hall when he was, like, knocked around by Queen, and then Nekamamushi shows up. I feel like that should have been the coup de grace, or the cat de grace, or whatever. I feel like that should have been the finishing move. Nekamamushi shows up, one of the strongest minks in the series, goes into his Sulong, Gyornyao slashes Perospero once, and he should just lay on the ground and bleed out and just die, or at least be finished off. I thought that should have been the end of it, but no, he was even able to handle Nekamamushi and his Sulong, like, one-on-one, and then his Sulong failed, and he takes this giant candy axe, and he's like, I'm still here, I could defeat you, and I'm like, man, what is this guy made out of? Plus, he's missing an arm. I know he can use the candy fruit to make, like, a replica arm, but is it as strong as his original, really? It's like, it's this hard to beat this guy? And so some people brought up some really good points to that, alright? So the one thing they brought up is, like, Tekking, you gotta understand, Perospero is the eldest son. Now, he might not be the strongest son, but he's the eldest, which means he's got experience. Experience being Big Mom's kid, the longest out of all of Big Mom's kids. How is that relevant? Well, Big Mom, hunger pangs, like, do you know how many of those Perospero has lived through? like where Big Mom goes crazy with hunger, and for a lot of years it was probably up to just him to deal with it, right? And then eventually Katakuri, Oven, Daifuku, and then the family begins to expand, so there's more and more people to help him out. But Perospero saw the most of that out of anybody. He probably has like trauma from that stuff, and so that's probably why at a young age he had to like learn how to fight, you know, because like he's like, imagine him being like 3 years old or 4 years old, and then Big Mom's like, I want pie, and like knocking Perospero around. He's like, Mama, calm down, please. Oh God, you know. And so he had to probably deal with that at a young age. So if you want like experience in battle and like combat endurance and learning how to like make shields to protect yourself, I mean, it depends on how long Perospero had the fruit. But you know, if he's like Katakuri and he got the fruit when he was a little kid, Katakuri got his mochi fruit when he was like 5. So if that's the situation there, in fact, I think we did see an image of Perospero when he was a kid, and you know, he has the tongue thing, the same tongue that he has now. So maybe he had the candy fruit even before that. Like that's a side effect of eating the candy fruit. You just get a giant tongue. Anyway, so yeah, you get that, and it's like, okay, maybe from a young age he was like accustomed to building shields and armor with his candy, and maybe he had to learn hockey at a young age in order to better protect himself and everything. So, all right, I'll give it to you. That really does make sense. And the other point of reference I brought up was like, you know, Perospero's like 50 years old. He's like an old man, you know? And people are like, well, you know, like the admirals are definitely in their prime still, and they're in their 50s. Garp is in his 70s, and he's still pretty damn strong. Not as strong as he used to be, probably, and same thing with Rayleigh, but Rayleigh's like pushing 80, and he's still pretty tough, so you really can't go by that. Like, if Perospero was like 100 years old, like, maybe, but 50, that's not a big deal. And a lot of other people brought up, like, Katakuri. It's like, you know, Katakuri's only 2 years younger than Perospero, right? Katakuri's only 48 years old, and he's like the strongest, you know, member of the Big Mom family right after Big Mom herself, right? I'm like, yeah, that's a good point. However, I would bring up Katakuri is pretty jacked, right, Jack? Yes. Like, he hits the gym. Like, look at those muscles. Like, he is ripped. He stays in shape. Perospero seems like the drugged out, like, homeless man that you would run into at the bus station or something. Like, you know, he's just there in the corner, like, he's this really lanky dude with, like, an overcoat or whatever. Looks like he hasn't bathed in, like, 3 weeks, and he just takes out a little piece of candy, and he's like, hey man, you want to buy this candy? It'll make you see some shit. You know, that's what I kind of look at when I see Perospero, right? So I'm like, man, this guy doesn't hit the gym at all. Katakuri's ripped. That makes sense for him to be the strongest, right? But no, I get it. Yeah, just from years of being Big Mom's child and like all the experiences he had, all the battle experience. I mean, back before Totland was even properly founded as a country, Perospero, Katakuri, Daifuku, Oven, they were probably just on the ship. And I think it was stated on a Vivre card they were born at a random port city because Totland didn't exist yet. So for a while there, after Big Mom left the Rocks crew, and keep in mind, Big Mom left the Rocks crew 38 years ago, so Perospero was already 12, you know, Oven, Daifuku, you know, Amande, Compote, Opera, and all of his brothers, they were already born at that point, right? And so Totland was around, so they were just sailing around on Big Mom's ship, and they were basically her crew and her children. All right, they still are, but now they're like ministers of their own countries and stuff. Back then, they were just a pirate crew, right? And so they had to learn from a young age to fight other really strong pirates, okay? So, yeah, I'll give it to you. I just really don't like Perospero, so I just wanted him to die as quickly as possible. But I guess it's fair that Oda's like, all right, I don't want to make it at least so easy. And also remember, he did tank a point-blank explosion from Pedro. That really should have queued me up back at Totland, like, okay, this guy's got some pretty high-spec defense, okay? If he's able to tank, like, and that dynamite or whatever the hell Pedro had on him, it was strong enough to cause an explosion to free the Sunny from a candy trap. You know, it's like, that was like freaking antimatter loaded on those dynamite sticks, and freaking Perospero was able to survive that. Yeah, he lost an arm, Kubo style, but still, he was able to survive that. So right there, I should have realized how strong he was. Now, even if I personally feel like that, you know, like Perospero should not be that strong, in order for Oda to be consistent, he cannot have Perospero survive a point-blank explosion in one arc, and then in the very next arc, like, Carrot just slashes him and he goes down. right? Which is what I wanted to happen. Okay, so that's fair. All right, I'll admit that. But yeah, Perospero, man, he's done. He's out of the fight. Big Mom will probably be defeated. He'll wake back up at the end of the arc or something and like carry off Big Mom's body or something. Come on, Mama, we're going home. I wanted to rule the world. Yeah, I know you did, Mama. Let's just go home now. Let's eat some cake. Oh shit, wedding cake. Damn it. So like that's probably what's gonna happen. But he's done. It's over. I liked Jack more. There you go. Well, anyway, that was the video. I hope you guys enjoyed. Let me know down below, like, if you genuinely felt sorry for Jack or Perospero, or you felt like their stories could be expanded on a little more. Because also remember this, like, after this arc, we're probably not going to see at least these characters in the spotlight anymore. Like, there might be a scene, like, in the final saga when there's, like, this big epic war at Laugh-Tale where, like, everybody's going to be there, where we might see Jack, or we might see Perospero, or whatever, but they're not going to be, like, the focus here, okay? In fact, I don't even know how Oda's going to do that with Laugh-Tale, like, all the villains together, like, at least all of the Yonko. Like, you could have Kaido and Big Mom defeated, and maybe, like, King takes over as the de facto leader, and then Perospero takes over as the de facto leader of the Big Mom family, and then they go to Laugh-Tale to try to fight. So Perospero might get one last hurrah. Jack might as well, but I'm really feeling like it's going to be several years until, like, the very final big epic war of One Piece that we're going to see them again. So, if you felt like this battle here at Wano at Onigashima didn't really showcase all of their talents, well, let me know down below. Anyway, thanks for watching, and thanks to Razer Gold for the sponsorship. Once again, check out that link below to go check out that digital wallet service, as well as enter to win a month free subscription to Crunchyroll Premium. Thanks for watching, everybody. This will be Tekking, Barry, and this water bottle signing out. Gotta stay hydrated.